The flags were never white. I am not a king, nor a conqueror, nor a judge of nations. I am merely a student of history. And history has a peculiar relationship with time. Across ages, rulers have learned that power is most stable when it resembles virtue, rarely presented as ambition, rarely presented as conquest, more often as duty, as destiny, as something described as sacred. The great halls of empire are never built without intention. Marble reflects light in ways that feel almost divine. Paintings soften violence into legacy. Treaties are displayed as though they descended from heaven. Goblets are raised to peace, rarely to the price that purchased it. Behind the throne, the banners are often white. White, the color of innocence. White, the color of purity. White, the color chosen when history is presented, as though it could not have happened any other way. Yet older records rarely describe such simplicity. Expansion is described as protection. Conquest becomes unification. Dominion becomes responsibility. Violence becomes necessity. Necessity becomes virtue. And virtue becomes identity. Civilizations often grow proud of what stands, yet hesitant to examine the road that allowed it to stand, proud of what they possess, careful with how they describe how it was obtained. Ambition is rarely remembered as ambition. It is remembered as stability. Those who carried out the difficult work of expansion are praised when strength is required, and simplified when reflection becomes uncomfortable. Language changes. Edges are softened. Events become symbols. Symbols become traditions. Traditions become truths rarely questioned. Anniversaries of unity are celebrated, above land that once resisted being unified. Harmony is praised, while the process by which silence was achieved slowly fades from memory. The scholar does not accuse. The scholar compares. Across continents and centuries, one pattern appears again and again. The more sacred authority claims to be, the more carefully its beginnings are described. Holiness rarely requires revision. Power often does. History also records individuals who possessed enough influence to ignite rebellions, yet chose not to. There have been those condemned publicly, executed visibly, left as examples of what happens. To those who challenge authority, some died on crosses, not because they lacked followers, not because they lacked conviction, but because they refused to command violence. In their own defense, they could have encouraged revolt. They could have answered force with force. They could have transformed belief into uprising. Instead, they accepted suffering. Rather than build their ideas upon fear, their reasoning was simple. If people choose what is right, let them choose it freely. If they wish to join, let it be without threat. Virtue forced through fear is not virtue. Belief demanded through violence is not belief. Obedience created through intimidation is not loyalty. Those individuals did not lack influence. They rejected the kind of power that depends on the absence of choice. Their ideas spread slowly, but they spread freely, and what is freely chosen rarely needs to be defended by force. History shows this contrast clearly. Some rulers demanded belief, others allowed disagreement, even when disagreement cost them their lives. Some built obedience, others inspired conviction, and conviction chosen freely often survives longer than obedience enforced by fear. Time behaves like rain upon memory. A flag may once have been heavy with blood, heavy with decisions once called necessary, heavy with victories that demanded silence. But years pass, memory softens, Responsibility becomes distant, distant enough to feel resolved. With enough time, even the unbearable becomes historical, then traditional, then unquestioned. Power rarely needs history to disappear. It only needs history to become distant. Distance softens judgment. Softened judgment becomes acceptance. Acceptance becomes continuity. Continuity rarely reopens its first chapters. And so the flag appears white, not because it began that way, but because time made remembering unnecessary. Empires change their names, crowns change their form, borders change their position. Yet one pattern remains remarkably consistent. Power prefers to appear pure, and time patiently obliges. Time has always been the most loyal ally of power. It changes language. It redistributes responsibility. It allows consequences to become ceremony. What was once unbearable becomes tradition. What was once questioned becomes identity. The flag appears clean. Not because it never carried blood, but because enough years have passed for the color to be forgotten. The flags were never white, only washed, until no one remembered. The color red